The people who hurt you the most are rarely the ones who hate you. They are the ones you trusted. You were not betrayed because you were weak. You were betrayed because you cared. Why does the deepest pain come from the people we let closest? That is the question that haunts us in our quietest moments, when we are alone with our thoughts and the weight of what someone we loved did to us feels heavier than anything else in the world. Think about it for a moment. When you send someone a message asking, "Are you okay?" and you receive back those two cold words, "I am fine," but you can feel the distance in every letter, the emotional wall they have put up between you. When someone uses a gentle voice to speak to you, but somehow that softness feels more frigid and cutting than complete silence ever could. When you find yourself apologizing, even though deep down in your bones you know you did absolutely nothing wrong, but you apologize anyway because keeping the peace feels more important than being right. When you lie in bed at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation and interaction in your mind, thinking to yourself, maybe I expect too much from people, maybe my standards are unreasonable, maybe I am the problem. These moments are not random occurrences. They are not isolated incidents that happen by chance. They are the architecture of emotional devastation, and they happen because of one simple truth that we desperately do not want to admit to ourselves. We have been taught our entire lives that trust means safety, that when you trust someone deeply, you are protected from harm. That love is a shield against pain and betrayal, that if you care about someone and they care about you, everything will be okay. But that is not true at all. Trust does not eliminate risk from a relationship. It multiplies it exponentially. Because when you trust someone, you open the door to your heart. You lower every single defense mechanism you have built over years of protecting yourself from pain. You hand someone the complete blueprint to your vulnerabilities, your fears, your insecurities, your deepest wounds, and you hope with everything in you that they will not use any of it against you. And here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud in polite conversation. Trust is not a gift you give to someone worthy. It is leverage they can use against you. Psychologists who study human relationships and attachment patterns have a specific name for this phenomenon. They call it emotional proximity bias. It is the fundamental principle that the closer the bond between two people, the deeper the wound when that bond is broken or betrayed. This is not just poetic language or emotional exaggeration to make a point. This is documented psychological reality that has been studied and proven over decades of research. Attachment vulnerability is real and measurable. The people who are closest to you in life have access to parts of yourself that strangers will never see. They know your fears that keep you up at night. They know your insecurities that you hide from the rest of the world. They know your dreams that you are afraid to say out loud because saying them makes them feel more real and therefore more possible to fail at. They know the things from your childhood that still hurt when you think about them. They know the wounds you have never fully healed from, the scars you carry that nobody else can see. They have seen you at your absolute weakest when you were falling apart and needed someone to hold you together. They have also seen you at your strongest when you were conquering the world and felt invincible. And that access, that intimate knowledge of who you really are beneath all the masks and walls, becomes a weapon when the relationship turns toxic or when betrayal happens. A stranger can annoy you with rude behavior or an insensitive comment. A stranger can inconvenience you or frustrate you for a moment. But someone you love, someone you have trusted with the deepest parts of yourself, someone you have been vulnerable with, someone you love can break you in ways you did not know were possible. The cost of this kind of hurt is not just momentary pain that fades after a good cry. It is not just tears shed one night that dry up by morning and leave you feeling better. The mental and emotional toll compounds over time, like interest on a debt you never agreed to take on. You start to doubt yourself in ways you never did before. You question your own judgment. You overthink every single interaction you have, not just with the person who hurt you, but with everyone in your life. You replay conversations in your head over and over, analyzing every word, every pause, every inflection in their voice, trying desperately to figure out where things went wrong and what you could have done differently. You experience emotional exhaustion that seeps into every area of your life like water damage spreading through the walls of a house. You lose trust in your own instincts, in your ability to judge character accurately, in your right to have boundaries and expect them to be respected. You sit in your car after an argument, gripping the steering wheel so hard your knuckles turn white and your hands start to ache, wondering why you are never enough for the people you give the most to. You give them everything you have and somehow it is still not sufficient. That is the real damage that lasts long after the initial pain fades. Not just the pain they caused in that moment, but the way they made you question your own worth, your own value as a human being deserving of love and respect. Here is the paradox that nobody prepares you for when you are young and learning about love and friendship. The people who can heal you the fastest are the exact same people who can destroy you the deepest. It is not a flaw in your judgment or your character. It is not because you are naive or foolish or too trusting or bad at reading people. It is the fundamental nature of intimacy itself. Closeness creates vulnerability by definition. Love requires risk, or it is not really love. Connection demands openness and honesty, or it remains superficial. And all of those things, all of that vulnerability and risk and openness, can be used against you by someone who does not have your best interests at heart, or who puts their own needs and desires above your well-being without a second thought. The same person who can make you feel seen and understood and valued with just a few words can also make you feel worthless and disposable with equal ease. That is the terrible power of intimacy. Many of us stay in these damaging situations far longer than we should. We fall into what I call the loyalty trap, and it is one of the most insidious psychological patterns in human relationships. You do not leave because you are terrified of being alone. The idea of being by yourself, of not having this person in your life anymore, feels worse than the pain of staying. You are scared of starting over from scratch, of being back at square one in your life, of having to rebuild everything without this person in it. The thought of going through the process of meeting new people, of explaining yourself and your history and your baggage to someone new, feels exhausting before you even begin. You hold on to hope like a lifeline that they will change, that the person you fell in love with or became friends with will come back. You tell yourself that if you just love them enough, if you just try hard enough, if you just give them one more chance, things will get better. You are weighted down by history and memories, by all the good times you shared together, by the investment you have made in this relationship over months or years. You think about inside jokes and late-night conversations and moments of real connection, and you tell yourself that those moments mean the relationship is worth saving. And somewhere along the way, something insidious happens that you do not even notice at first. You lower your standards bit by bit. You ignore your boundaries when they get crossed. You accept treatment that you once would have walked away from without hesitation, treatment that you would never accept from a stranger or acquaintance. And you call it love. You call it commitment. You call it being a good friend or partner. But it is not love at all. It is self-betrayal in its purest form. You are betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. The turning point in this cycle comes when you realize something fundamental has shifted in your life. You are actively hurting yourself just to keep them in your life. Every day you wake up and make the choice to prioritize their comfort over your own well-being. You are more afraid of disappointing them, of them being upset with you or thinking poorly of you, than you are of losing yourself completely. You have made yourself smaller and quieter and less vibrant and less authentically you just to fit into the space they have decided you should occupy in their life. You have dimmed your light so they do not feel threatened. You have silenced your voice so they do not feel challenged. You have shrunk your dreams so they do not feel inadequate. And one day, if you are lucky enough to have a moment of clarity, you wake up and understand with perfect certainty that you have a choice to make. Leaving is not choosing loneliness over companionship. It is choosing yourself over self-destruction. It is choosing your peace of mind, your mental health, your future happiness, your right to be treated with basic respect and care and consideration. It is choosing to stop betraying yourself for someone who has already betrayed you and will likely do it again. Let me share 2 stories with you that illustrate this reality in concrete terms. First, there is the story of Andrew and Michael. They were best friends for 10 solid years. They met in college during their freshman year and stayed close through multiple career changes, romantic relationships that came and went, messy breakups, family health crises, cross-country moves, and all the other ups and downs that come with your 20s and early 30s. Andrew trusted Michael completely and without reservation. Michael was not just a friend, he was family. He was the person Andrew called when something good happened and when something terrible happened. When Andrew was working on a major project at his company and had the opportunity to pitch for a leadership position he had been wanting for years, a position that would change the trajectory of his entire career, he talked to Michael about it constantly. He shared his strategies and his concerns and his innovative ideas. He talked through his pitch presentation dozens of times, asking Michael for feedback and advice. Michael listened carefully every single time, gave thoughtful advice, asked good questions, and acted completely supportive of Andrew's goals. He was the perfect friend. Then Andrew found out through a mutual colleague that Michael had gone behind his back and pitched for the exact same position, using the exact ideas and strategies that Andrew had shared with him in confidence during all those conversations. Michael got the job. Andrew was devastated in a way he had never experienced before. But here is what hurt the most. It was not losing the career opportunity, although that was certainly painful. It was not the professional setback or the financial implications. It was the loss of trust in someone he had considered a brother. It was realizing that someone he would have done anything for had used his vulnerability against him without hesitation. It was understanding that Michael had sat across from him, looked him in the eye, listened to him share his dreams and fears, and planned his betrayal the entire time. Looking back with the clarity that hindsight provides, Andrew could see the red flags that he had missed or chosen to ignore. The competitive comments that Michael made but masked as jokes, so they seemed harmless. The subtle put-downs that chipped away at Andrew's confidence bit by bit. The times Michael seemed just a bit too interested in the details of Andrew's plans, asking questions that went beyond friendly curiosity. But Andrew had ignored all of it because of loyalty, because of their history together, because Michael was his best friend, and you are supposed to trust your best friend completely. Then there is Emily and Daniel. Emily was in a romantic relationship with someone who hurt her repeatedly over the course of 2 years, but he always apologized afterward, so she stayed. Daniel would say cruel things during arguments, things specifically designed to hit her, where he knew she was most insecure. He would ignore her for days at a time, not responding to her messages or calls, leaving her anxious and wondering what she had done wrong. He would make plans with her and then cancel at the last minute with flimsy excuses, leaving her feeling unimportant and disposable. He would flirt openly with other women right in front of her at parties and social gatherings, making her feel invisible and inadequate. But then he would apologize. He would show up at her door with her favorite flowers. He would write long messages about how sorry he was and how much she meant to him. He would promise sincerely to change his behavior. Emily stayed because she believed in second chances, because the alternative felt worse, because she loved him despite everything, because she thought real love meant fighting for someone even when it is incredibly hard. She thought leaving at the first sign of trouble made you a quitter. So she stayed through the second incident and the third and the 10th. But the pattern continued exactly as it had before. Apology after apology after apology, each one feeling slightly more hollow than the last, each promise to change, followed by the same hurtful behavior within weeks or sometimes days. The moment that Emily finally woke up and saw the situation clearly was when she realized something crucial about the nature of his apologies. Daniel did not apologize because he genuinely cared about hurting her or felt remorse for his actions. He apologized to avoid the consequences of his behavior. He apologized because he was scared of losing her and being alone, not because he had any real intention of changing his behavior patterns. He apologized to keep her around, to reset the clock on the relationship, to buy himself more time before he inevitably hurt her again in the same ways. Once she saw that pattern with clear eyes, she could not unsee it. The illusion shattered completely. And she left, finally choosing herself after 2 years of choosing him. These stories are not unique or rare. They happen every single day to people everywhere in every country and culture. The specific details change from situation to situation. The names are different. The exact nature of the betrayal varies. But the core dynamic remains the same across all of them. Someone close to you, someone you trusted with vulnerable parts of yourself, uses that trust against you for their own benefit. And the pain is magnified precisely because of that closeness, because they knew exactly what they were doing and how much it would hurt you. So let us redefine what we are actually talking about here, because clarity is important. This is not about demonizing intimacy or closeness. This is not about saying that people close to you are inherently dangerous and should be kept at arm's length. This is not about building walls so high that nobody can ever reach you or know the real you. It is about understanding a critical distinction that changes everything. Proximity is not the same thing as loyalty. Access to you is not the same thing as love for you. Just because someone is close to you in physical or emotional space, just because they know you deeply and have seen parts of you that others have not, just because you have shared years of history together and have memories and inside jokes and shared experiences, that does not automatically mean they have your best interests at heart. It does not mean they will protect what you have shared with them. It does not mean they value the relationship the way you do or would make the same sacrifices for you that you would make for them. The philosophy here is simple in concept, but powerful in application. Trust is earned over time through consistent actions, not assumed based on proximity or history. Being close to someone does not mean you owe them your peace of mind or your mental health. You do not owe anyone continued access to you at the cost of your well-being. You do not owe anyone loyalty when they have repeatedly shown you disloyalty. You can forgive people for what they have done without allowing them back into the specific parts of you they broke. This is important to understand. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself, to release the anger and resentment that only hurts you, not them. But forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Forgiveness does not require giving them another chance. You can release the anger, let go of the resentment that is poisoning your present, make peace with what happened, and still choose to move forward in your life without them in it. Pain from strangers fades quickly from memory. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you feel angry for 5 minutes, and then you forget about it. A cashier is rude to you at the store and it stings briefly, but you move on with your day. A stranger on the internet makes an insensitive comment and you roll your eyes and keep scrolling. These things sting for a moment like a paper cut and then disappear from your consciousness. but pain from loved ones becomes part of you in a much deeper way. It changes the fundamental way you see yourself and the world around you. It alters your ability to trust other people in future relationships. It impacts how you show up in new friendships and romances because you are carrying the weight of what happened before. It becomes a lens through which you view everything, coloring your perceptions and decisions. Unless you consciously choose to stop the cycle. Unless you recognize what is happening to you and make an active choice to break the pattern before it breaks you. Ask yourself these difficult questions and answer them with complete honesty. Who are you keeping in your life primarily or solely because of shared history? Who is using your trust as an advantage over you, as leverage to get what they want? Who makes you feel like you have to shrink yourself or hide parts of who you are to maintain the relationship? Who do you keep forgiving over and over even though they keep hurting you in the exact same ways and never actually change? Who makes you question your worth, your boundaries, your right to be treated well and with respect? These are not easy questions to sit with. The answers might be painful to admit to yourself. They might force you to confront truths about your relationships that you have been avoiding, but they are necessary questions if you want to break free from patterns that are damaging you. Because some people are meant to be chapters in your story, not the whole book. Some relationships are meant to teach you something important about yourself or about what you will and will not accept, and then they are meant to end. Some people come into your life to show you what you will not tolerate anymore, what you deserve better than, who you are becoming as you grow and evolve as a person. The people closest to you have tremendous power in your life, whether you acknowledge it or not. They can lift you up and help you become the best version of yourself. They can support your growth and celebrate your successes. They can be a safe place to land when life gets hard. Or they can tear you down systematically. They can stifle your growth because it threatens them. They can weaponize your vulnerabilities against you. And you get to decide what you accept. You have the power to decide who stays in your life and who goes. You get to decide what kind of treatment is acceptable and what crosses the line into unacceptable. You get to decide when enough is enough and walk away. This is not about becoming closed off emotionally or building walls so high that nobody can ever reach you again. That is not healthy either. It is about being selective and intentional with who you let into your inner circle. It is about recognizing that not everyone deserves access to every part of you. It is about understanding that healthy relationships should add to your life in meaningful ways, not drain you emotionally. It is about knowing that real love, real friendship, real authentic connection does not require you to betray yourself or compromise your core values. The deepest cut comes from the closest hand. That is just the reality of human relationships, but it does not have to be your reality forever. You are not sentenced to a lifetime of being hurt by the people closest to you. You can heal from this. You can rebuild your ability to trust carefully and selectively. You can learn to be intimate with people again without sacrificing your sense of self in the process. It starts with recognizing the patterns that have been playing out in your relationships, with seeing clearly what has been happening instead of making excuses, with understanding deep in your bones that you deserve better treatment than what you have been accepting, with making the brave choice to choose yourself even when it feels impossibly hard. When someone shows you who they really are through their consistent actions over time, believe them the first time. When someone treats your trust carelessly like it means nothing, take note of that and let it inform your decisions. When someone makes you feel small or unworthy, or like you are asking for too much by having basic standards and boundaries, that is important information about who they are. Use it to make informed decisions. Do not ignore red flags just because you are already invested in the relationship. Do not stay in something harmful because of sunk cost fallacy. Do not mistake history for destiny, or assume that because you have known someone for years, they must be good for you. You are allowed to outgrow people, And that is not a failure on your part. You are allowed to recognize that someone who was right for you at one point in your life is no longer right for you now, as you have grown and changed. You are allowed to walk away from relationships that hurt you consistently, even if other people do not understand your reasons or judge you for leaving. You are allowed to prioritize your well-being over someone else's feelings about your choices. You are allowed to set boundaries clearly and enforce them firmly. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to leave without permission. Your healing begins the moment you stop making excuses for people who hurt you repeatedly. When you stop minimizing your own pain because you think you should be over it by now, or because you know others have been through objectively worse situations. When you stop accepting breadcrumbs of affection and calling it enough to sustain you. When you stop being more afraid of being alone than you are of staying in a situation that damages you a little more each day. Some of you reading this right now are in the thick of it. You are in a relationship or friendship that hurts you regularly, but you have not been able to leave yet. You are making excuses for their behavior. You are hoping desperately that things will get better if you just wait a little longer. You are remembering the good times and using them to minimize the bad times. You are afraid of what your life will look like without this person in it. And that is okay. You do not have to leave today. Leaving is a process that takes time. Understanding is a process. But please know this with absolute certainty. You deserve to be treated well. You deserve to have your trust honored and protected. You deserve relationships that do not require you to lose yourself. You deserve people who see your value and treat you accordingly. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, know that you are not alone in this experience. Thousands of people have experienced exactly what you are going through right now. The betrayal that feels so personal, the confusion about what happened and why, the deep pain that seems like it will never fade, the difficulty of letting go of someone you still care about. You are not weak for caring about them. You are not stupid for trusting them initially. You are not broken beyond repair for being hurt. You are human and you are learning, and that is enough. Share this with someone in your life who needs this wake-up call right now, someone who is staying in a situation that is slowly destroying them from the inside out, someone who needs permission to choose themselves for once, someone who needs to hear that the pain they are feeling is valid and real and completely understandable. Follow for more insights on modern relationships and emotional clarity, because these conversations matter more than ever, because your healing matters, because you matter.